risk analysis in the capital budgeting. So I want us to start something new. Which you are referring to as the point of. So these are new topic. This now will be the new topic, whereby we have it as the point of indifference. The point of indifference. So our new topic will be the point of indifference. Our new item will be the point of indifference. So it has some attachment on the risk analysis, because we shall be simply be looking at the financing option, whereby earning per share for any particular options are the same. So as we introduce, I want us to write something brief about what we mean by the point of indifference. What do we mean by the point of indifference? So we introduce by summarizing that it is the point of financing. It is the point of financing. It is the point of financing where earning per share. It is the point of financing where earning per share, where the earning per share and earnings before interest and tax, and the earnings before interest and tax, and the earnings before interest and tax of all available financing options, of all available financing options, of all available financing options are equal, of all the available financing options are equal. Therefore, the investor is unable, to select a given option. Therefore, the investor is unable to select a given option. Therefore, the investor is unable to select a given option. So what we have simply saying is that at the point of indifference, earning per share for option 1 will be the same as earning per share for option 2. Point of indifference, earning per share for option 1 will be the same as earning per share for option 2. Also at the point of indifference, earnings before interest and tax for that option 1 will also be the same as earnings before interest and tax for option 2. So that's the summary of the definition I've given. At the point of indifference, earnings per share for the 2 options will be the same. Also, earnings before interest and tax for the 2 options will be the same. So when that is the case, the investor is unable to pick a given financing option. So we want to know how to establish that point. Then another paragraph, we can write that the earning per share for various financing options, the earning per share for the various financing options would be expressed as follows. The earning per share for the various financing options will be expressed as follows. Will be expressed as follows. It will be expressed as follows. It will be expressed as follows. So number one will be all equity. All equity finance firm. Number 1, we can have it as all equity financed firm. So when the firm is all equity financed, how do we compute earning per share? So I'm simply giving the formulas. So earning per share would be equal to earnings before interest and tax, 1 minus the corporate tax. Then you divide by number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares. So when you want to compute the earning per share where the company is all equity financed, simply take earnings before interest and tax, 1 minus the corporate tax rate, then we divide by the number of the ordinary shares. So that's in case it is all equity financed. Sometimes it can be equity and debt financed firm. Equity and debt financed firm. Sometimes it can be equity and debt financed firm. So when it is equity and debt financed firm, when it is equity and debt financed, it means that earning per share will be given by earnings before interest and tax, subtract interest, 1 minus the corporate tax, we divide by number of ordinary shares. So to get the earning per share, it will be given by earnings before interest and tax. We subtract interest, then 1 minus the corporate tax. We divide by the number of the ordinary shares. Then number three, it can be equity. It can be equity, debt, and preference shares financed. Preference shares financed. It can be equity, debt, and preference shares financed. It can also be equity, debt, and preference shares financed. So if that is also another element, your earning per share will be equal to earnings before interest and tax. We subtract interest, then 1 minus the corporate tax, but remember also to subtract the preference dividends. The preference dividends, then divide by the number of the ordinary shares. Divide by number of the ordinary shares. We divide by the number of the ordinary shares. So I've simply summarized them in form of the formulas, how you will be able to go about to compute the earning per share or determine the point of indifference based on those financing options. So the first question we shall be using will be November 2020, question 5, part A. We can check the question for November 2020, question number 5, part A. So we can start with November 2020, question number 5, part A. November 2020, question number 5, part A. So we can check November 2020, question number 5, part A. November 2020, question number 5, part A. Question 5, part A. So November 2020, question number 5, part A. So that question 5A for November 2020, you can see the one for Donut Limited. Donut Limited has a capital structure. Consists of shillings 150 million in the 15% debentures and shillings 450 millions in the ordinary shares of 20 shillings per. The company adopts 100% payout ratio as it is dividend policy. The finance manager intends to raise an additional 20 millions to finance an expansion program and is considering 2 alternative financing options. Option 1, issue a 12% debenture stock. Option 1, issue at 12% debenture stock. Option 2, issue additional ordinary shares of shillings 20 per value. The corporate tax rate is given as 30%. Now required, calculate earning per share and earnings before interest and tax at the point of indifference in the firms under the financing option 1 and option 2 above. So when you are analyzing that kind of the question, you check in the current capital structure. You start by checking what is there in the current capital structure. So in that first paragraph, you have seen there is 150 million. There is 150 million, 15% debentures. There is also 450 million in ordinary shares. So given that, that company is equity and debt financed. Yeah, currently that company is equity and debt finance because currently there are debentures. Debentures are debts. There is ordinary shares. Ordinary shares will be equity. So that company is equity and debt financed. Even if you go under option 1, you can see option 1, when they want to raise additional capital, in addition to what they have, they issue 12% debentures. So even if they issue 12% debentures, their capital structure still has debt and equity because ordinary shares were there. Remember, what they are raising is in addition to what they already have. What they are raising is in addition to what, so the company will still remain equity and debt. Even when you go to option 2, issue ordinary shares at 20 shillings per value. Still, that is just addition to what they currently have. So that company will still remain equity and debt. So we start by analyzing that information. So what we are interested in when we are answering that question, we say that at the point of indifference. So the concept we use is that at the point of indifference, earning per share for option 1 will be the same as earning per share for option 2. At the point of indifference, earning per share for option 1 will be the same as earning per share for option 2. So we start off with the option 1. We start off with option 1. So under option 1, the firm is equity. It is equity and debt financed firm. So that firm is meant to be equity and debt financed. When it is equity and debt financed, earning per share for that option 1 should be equal to earnings before interest and tax. We subtract interest 1 minus the corporate tax, divide by number of the ordinary shares. Divide by the number of the ordinary shares. So when the company is equity and debt financed, you simply take earnings before interest and tax. Remember that figure, we don't know it. It is one of the items we shall be looking for. So you compute interest, So to calculate the interest, check the current capital structure. You see in the first paragraph, there is 15% of 150 million. So interest will be 15% of the 150 million. Then we add, remember the amount to raise. Are you able to say how much are we supposed to raise? When you check that the company adopts 100% payout ratio as its dividend policy, but the finance manager intends to raise additional how much? 20 million to finance an expansion program. So in that option 1, to raise the 20 million, they are issuing 12% debenture. So you also add 12% of 20 million, the amount they want. So what we get now the total interest. To get the total interest, this is what you are already paying on the debt that we have. But we also want to get another debt of 20 million on which you pay interest of what percent? 12%. So when you add these two, you now give you the total interest. When we use option 1, we already have the debt, but we are also borrowing another debt. So combined, how much will be the total interest? Because under option 1, they issue 12% debenture stock in order to raise now the 20 million they want to come up with. So the 20 million want to come up with, we charge interest of 12%. But currently they have 150 million, they are paying interest of 15%. So when you combine them together, when we are using option 1, how much will be now our total interest? So when you compute it, you will be able to give you a total interest of how much? That is what we call 1. So anyone who has computed? $24.9. Okay. So I said it's 24.9 million. Yeah, so that's now for the interest. So the other item, we compute the number of the ordinary shares. We also need to get number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares. So to calculate the number of the ordinary shares, when you want to get the number of the ordinary shares, go to the current capital structure, you can see 450 million in the ordinary shares. But the bar value per share was given as how much? 20. So take 450 million, divide by 20 shares, so that we get now the number of the ordinary shares. So that we now get the number of the ordinary shares. So that we get now the number of the ordinary shares. We get the number of the ordinary shares. So that will give us which figure? Sorry? 22.5. So we go back to our formula. We go back to our formula whereby earnings per share for option 1 will be equal to earnings before interest and tax. We don't know that figure. It's one of the items we want to compute. Then interest is what you have calculated as 24.9 million. Then 1 minus the tax rate. The tax was given to you. Are you able to see 30%? So 30% is the same as 0.3. 30% will be the same as 0.3. Then we divide by the number of the ordinary shares, which are 22.5. So we simplify that equation further. We simplify that equation further. We shall be required to simplify that equation further. So, earning per share for option 1. So we know that if 1 minus 0.3, it becomes 0.7. So if you open the brackets, so this one is already 0.7. So if I open the bracket, I multiply this by 0.7, also this by 0.7. So it will be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. So also, when you take 24.9 multiplied by 0.7, confirm it should be able to give us which figure? 17.43. Then, so this is now our equation for option 1. We just leave it like that. Then we also create for option 2. Then we shall equate them together. Then we shall be making this one with the subject. So that's now for option 1. We leave it at that point. Now we should go to option 2. That is now our option 1. We leave it in that order. We go to option 2. Now go to option 2. When it comes to option 2, now go to option 2. So under option 2, it is also equity and debt. Equity and debt financed. So it still be equity and debt financed, whereby earning per share for option 2 will be earnings before interest and tax. We subtract interest 1 minus the corporate tax, also divide by the number of ordinary shares. So the formula will still be the same because that company is still equity and debt financed. Then the next item now we compute will be interest. So for the interest, we take what is currently in the capital structure. For the interest, we simply take what is currently in the capital structure. Are you able to see the 15% of 150 millions? 15% of 150, because that is what we are currently paying. That is what we are currently paying, so it will not change. The other amount to raise under option 2 will come from the ordinary shares. So what is 15% of 150 million? 22.5 millions. Then now the other item you compute will be number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares. So for the number of the ordinary shares, you simply do the same. Currently it is 450 millions. We divide by the par value of 20 shares. But you can see under option 2, to raise the new capital, they issue additional ordinary shares at how much of the par value? 20. And remember how much are they raising? 20 million. So to raise the 20 million, under this option, they also issue shares at 20 shillings per share. So that now will give us the total number of the ordinary shares when we are using that option 2. When we are using that particular option 2. So give us 23.5. Then now we simplify our equation. Now simplify our equation. We now simplify our equation whereby earning per share for option 2 will be earnings before interest and tax. So interest is 22.5 millions. Then 1 minus 0.3. We also divide by 33.5. So when we are opening the brackets, this will be the same as 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. So when you take 22.5, also multiply 0.7, it will be able to give you around which figure? 15.75. So you still divide by 3. So we have now the 2 equations. We we now have the two equations. So we go back to our initial definition where we say that at the point of indifference, earning per share for option 1 should be the same as earning per share for option 2. We go back to what we had initially, that at the point of indifference, earning per share for option 1 should be the same as earning per share for option 2. So option 1, it was 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. You subtract 17.43 millions. You divide by 22.5 million. So for option 2, we have seen it is 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. We subtract 15.75 millions. You also divide by 3.5. So I want you to cross multiply those two equations, make earning before interest and tax to be the subject. So cross multiply them, then make the earnings before interest and tax to be the subject. $78.91 flat. 78.9. So online, someone to confirm, and also those who are physical, you confirm what you are coming up with. So that we now confirm the same, whether it is true. So if it is true, earning per share for the two options must be the same. So we go back to the two equation. Then where there is earnings before interest and tax, you replace with what you have calculated. Then now we get the earning per share. Because the question wanted earning per share and earnings before interest and tax at the point of indifference. So now let us get the earning per share for each. Let us now get earning per share for option 1. So earning per share for option 1 will be 0.7 multiplied by. So we have said this which figure? 78.9. So we are using first option 1, then 17.43. You also divide by 2.5. Then we also get option 2. Option 2 is 0.7, also 78.9. Then you also subtract 15.75. Then you also divide by 0.5. So confirm whether the two will give me the same, because that's now the other part of the same question. So in the question, they had asked you to compute earning per share and also earnings before interest and tax at the point of indifference. So earning per share should be which figure? 1.68. So all of them are the same. All of them are the same. So you write that part. You also normally award the marks on the basis of that. Because the question wanted earnings before interest and tax and earning per share at the point of indifference. So that is how you are to go about to deal with that element. So that is done on that question. We shall also get now another question, because that part, they only require you to compute earning per share and earnings before interest and tax at the point of indifference between those two options. So that question is now done at that point. So the other question we can use on the same, should be September 2015. September 2015. Get question number 1, part B. September 2015, question number 1, part B. Also, it was a pilot paper, September 2015, question 1, part B. It was a pilot paper. It was a pilot paper. So there was a mix-up at that area. They started with the one for May as we go back to the one for September. So September 2015 is a pilot paper. So we are pilot paper. One part B. So when you got the class group, I suspect they are those past papers. The one in the class group is on which page? Page 66. So for those who are using the ones on the class group, you check the question. There's a question for question 1, part B for September 2015. September 2015. September 2015. You have the question? If you don't have, you can take this out. can refer to that and see what should be there. So just a minute. So we can now go through the question. So the question reads that MM Company Limited is contemplating raising additional finance. For an expansion program. The company is considering shillings 50 million for this expansion program. So the company's existing capital structure is given below. Ordinary share capital, it is 60 million. 10% debenture capital is 25 million. 12% preference share capital is 15 million. Reserve has been given as 50 million. So total, it gives you 150 million. So two alternative financing options available to the company are given as follows. So they have given you option 1, where we issue the new ordinary shares at par to raise all the desired funds. And also option 2, issue the new ordinary shares at par to raise shillings 30 million, and the balance will be raised through the issue of the 15% debentures. Then they continued to say that the management are optimistic that this investment will enable the company to generate annual operating profit whose forecasted values in different states of nature and their probability of occurrence are given as follows. So they have given you the 2 states of nature, probability, and also the operating profit. So the firm will pay corporate tax at a rate of 30%. Now required. Roman letter 1, determine the level of the expected operating profits and expected earning per share at the point of indifference between firms earning under financing option 1 and 2. Then Roman letter 2, determine the range of the expected operating profit within each financing option will be recommended. But they are asking you to use the graph. They want you to apply the graph for that region. Then the reference to part B above indicates the financing option we recommend, assuming that the company's expected operating profit are as follows. So maybe we can first check the capital structure. When you check the current capital structure Are you able to see what is there as the ordinary share capital? Then are you able to see the debenture capital and the preference share capital? So that means this question, that company is equity, debt, and the preference shares financed. That company will be equity, debt, and preference shares financed. So we start off by analyzing option 1. We start off by analyzing what is there for option 1. We start off by analyzing what is there as option 1. What is meant to be there as option 1. So in that particular option 1, so the firm is equity. So it is equity. So equity is the ordinary shares. The debt is the debentures. Debt and also the preference shares. The preference shares like that. So this firm, it is equity, debt, and the preference shares financed. You check current capital structure. When you go through the current capital structure, are you able to see ordinary share capital? Are you able to see debentures? Are you able to see preference shares? So that means that that company is equity, debt, and preference shares financed. You use the current capital structure. We apply the current capital structure. We use the current capital structure. So when it is equity, debt, and the preference shares financed, earning per share for option 1, earning per share for option 1 will be earnings before interest and tax. We subtract interest 1 minus the corporate tax, then we subtract the preference dividends. We subtract the preference dividends, then divide by number of the ordinary shares. Divide by the number of the ordinary shares. Let us now compute interest. Let us now compute interest. Let us now compute interest. So interest on the debentures, the current capital structure. Are you able to see 10% debenture capital? Total amount is 25 million. I hope you have seen that. Yeah, so get 10% of 25 millions. 10% of the 25 millions. That should be able to give you the interest. That information is in the capital structure. It is there. Under the capital structure, we started the ordinary share capital, 10% debenture, 12% preference share capital, and also the reserves. So 10% of 25 million should be the same as 2.1. So we have 2.5 million. Like that. The other item, you get the preference dividends. We also compute the preference dividends. So for the preference dividends, there is 12% preference share capital. It is 12% of the 15 millions. So get 12% of the 15 millions. Get the 12% of the 15 millions. We also compute number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares. So for the number of the ordinary shares, currently you can see 15 millions, not 15, but 60 millions. So currently there is 60 millions, but you see the bar value in the brackets is how much? Then we are planning to raise how much? In that first paragraph. They are planning to raise 50 million. But under option 1, to raise the 50 million, they are saying they issue new ordinary shares at par to raise all the desired funds. So also add their 50 millions divided by 20. Because under option 1, the new funds will be raised. We get 5.5 millions. So now we go to our equation. We now go to our equation whereby earning per share for option 1 should be earnings before interest and tax. We less interest, which is 2.5 millions, then 1 minus the corporate tax. Corporate tax was given as 30%. I hope you have seen that. Naona 30% in the question. Before required, the company will pay corporate tax at a rate of 30%, which is the same as 0.3. Then we also minus the preference dividend, which is 1.8 million. Then you also divide by the number of the ordinary shares, which are 5.5 million, which are meant to be 5.5 million. So finally, at the end, earning per share at that point will be earnings before interest and tax. So when you open the brackets, it is 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. So when you take 2.5 million, multiply 0.7, open the brackets. 1.75 million, also minus 1.8 million. So we still have to simplify it further. So it will be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. So minus 1.75 minus 1.8 minus 3.5. So this is now our option 1. So that will be the equation for option 1. So we also create equation for option 2. Then we equate them. We now also create the equation for option 2. And we shall be required to equate them. Also go to option 2 so that we can also, so under option 2, so under option 2, so under option 2, so under option 2, it is also equity, debt, and preferred shares financed. Shares financed. Still equity, debt, and shares financed. Whereby earning per share for option 2 is still earnings before interest and tax. Subtract interest tax minus the preference dividends. We also divide by the number of the ordinary shares. Number of ordinary shares. So we start with the interest. We now start off with interest. Start off with interest. We start off with interest. So interest, we just check. Currently, it is 10% of 25 minutes. 10% of 5 minutes. So we are supposed to add the other one. So under option 2, are you able to see option 2? Issue new ordinary shares at par to raise how much? 30 million. And the balance will be raised through the issue of the 15% debenture. So total amount we want to raise is 50 million. So if 30 million is coming from the ordinary share, what is the balance for the debentures? 20. So that's 20, the interest rate is what percent? So get 15% of the 20 millions. You get the 15% of the 20 millions. So it will give us 3 minutes. Is it 3 millions? Others because this is 2.5. 5.5. So it will be 5.5. No, so when you combine it is 5.5. The other thing you compute. So preference dividend have not been affected. The preference dividends, they have not been affected. So for the preference dividends, preference shares are 15 million, the rate is 12%. So get 12% of the 15 million. Remember it was 1.8. Then also the number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares. Also the number of the ordinary. So when it comes, the number of the ordinary shares, it was 60 millions divided by 20. So 30 million is coming from the ordinary shares. Are you able to see option 2? But they are also issued at what price? Just confirm. New preference, issue new ordinary shares at par. So the par value is 20 shillings. Remember the figure. So take 30 millions, also divide by 20. Get 30 millions, also divide by 20. Sorry? We get 4.5. So now you go back to the equation. So earning per share for option 2 is equal to earnings before interest and tax. So subtract interest, which is 5.5 billions, then 1 minus 0.3. So preference dividend is 1.8 millions. Then we divide by 4.5. So when you open the brackets, it will be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. So also when you take 5.5 million multiplied by 0.7. So 3.85 also minus 1.8. So when you finally simplify it, it should be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. So minus 3.85 minus 1.8. So 5.65. So also divide by 4.5. So those two equations, now we equate them together so that we come up with the earning per share. point of indifference, earning per share for option 1 will be the same as the earning per share for option 2. So it will be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax minus 3.5 million divided by 5.5 equal to option 2 is 0.7 earnings before interest and tax minus 5.65 also divided by 4.5. So cross multiply and make earning per share to be the subject. We cross multiply, then we make the earning per share to be the subject. Sorry? 3.55. This one here. So this one is supposed to be 3.55. So now get the earning per share also from that arrangement. So what are we able to get? Earnings before interest and tax. 21 points. So you use them also to get the earning per share. Earning per share tumepata 2.1. So earning per share for option 1, it is 0.7. You have said that earnings before interest and taxes 21.7. So earning per share for option 2 also 0.7. So once we are finished with that, we want now to draw the graph. We should be able to draw the graph. So when you draw the graph, we require 3 points. We require 3 points. One above the point of indifference, another one below the point of indifference. So we need to draw a graph to get the range. So we require 3 points. One above what we have calculated, another one below for you to draw the graph. Then there is no formula of getting the one above and the one below. So what you should just do, like now, so this one is 21.57. We get a half of that. Then we compute earning per share afresh. Get the one below. Then the one above, add that half to this. We just go up by half, also down by a half. Yeah, we get the 2 points, so we draw the graph. Yeah, so the question has said that in the Roman letter 2, they wanted you to determine the range of the expected operating profit within which each financing option will be recommended. So we just repeat everything the way it is given, but another one below, another one above. the point of indifference. Then you create that graph. Yes, that graph. So you do this summary. Come up with this summary. Come up with this summary of the information. So there is, we should be able to have this type of information. So we should be having earnings before interest and the tax. Also, earning per share for option 1, earning per share for option 2. You just simplify them in that order. So currently, it is 21.57 million. So when it is 21.57 millions, we have just calculated our earning per share. Each one will be how much? Sorry? 2.1. They were the same. They were the same. So I want you to get a half of 21.57. Just get a half of 21.57. We can round it off to 2 decimal places. 10.7. Also 10.7. So that we get now the new earning per share for each option. Yeah, just got the same equations, but where there is earnings before interest and tax, replace it 10.79. So the one for option 1, so this time it is not the same because it is not the point of indifference. This time it will be different. So they are not the same. So the kwanza naota 0. So we can just have it as 0.73. Confirm that figure is correct. Online, I hope we are together. Then, if somebody in you by a half, the other point will go up by a half. So when you add 21.57 plus 10.79, when we go up, we should get how much? 32.36. Still come down here, replace these figures by 32.36. 32.36. This should be us $3.47. So those pictures will give you the chance to draw the graph. So those pictures will give you the chance to draw the graph. So let us have the graph. And us now to draw the graph. Based on what we have up there. Based on what we have up there, we should come up with a graph. So our graph based on. So this side, it will be earnings per share. Then this side will be earnings before interest and the tax. So the y-axis, which we are having the earnings per share. Earnings per share. So the scale we create, you see the highest earning per share. It is 3.78. The lowest is 0.5. So we can create a scale of 0.5. We can create a scale of 0.5. So this one, 0.5. This one, you 1.0. Then 1.5. 2.0. 2.5. 3.5. 4.0. So we create a scale on the basis of that. Create a scale on the basis of that. Then you see the highest earnings before interest and tax is 32, the lowest is 10. We still use a similar scale, 5 million, 10 million, like that. We can also have 5 millions, 10 millions, 15 millions, 20 millions, 25 millions, and up to 35. So we start with option 1. We start off by plotting option 1. So option 1, you see 21.57. So 21.5 is somewhere there. Our earnings before interest and tax. So 2.1 is somewhere here. So we locate that point like that. We locate that point like that. We locate that. So we are first of all plotting option 1. We are first of all plotting option 1. So this one, when it is 10, so 10 is somewhere here, 10.7. 10.7 is somewhere there. Then earning per share is 0.73. So 0.5 is there, 0.7 should be somewhere there. So you also identify that point. So you see the 0.7. You likely to have it at that. Then the last one is 32, so 32 is somewhere there. When it is 32, it is 3.47. So 3.47 is the same as 3.5. Like that. It's likely to be somewhere. So that is for option 1. That is for option 1. So we should also create the one for option 2. We should also create the graph for option. So our point of indifference was the same. This one is still the same. Then when it is below the 10.79. So 10.79, up by 3.5. On up by 0.5. Sorry, 0.35 is likely to be something. When it is 10, but this one is 0.35. The same figure 10, they will all follow the same. Was the same earnings before interest and tax. Then when it is 32, it is 3.78. So 3.78, it is somewhere up there. So the same point, but average. So you draw using a graph, no, a ruler, because it is a linear equation. You join them using a ruler. So it will be like now the first one, just join them using a ruler. That will be option 1. Then option 2. Here itakuja hivyo. So it will have that element of presentation. So that this was option 1. Now this is option 2. So if you draw on the scale, so that should be the graph. How to present them using a graph. How to present them using a graph. So they are asking which one are we going to recommend within a specific range. You can still advise from there. Yeah, so you check which option is having the highest earning per share under which range. That is the one to be selected. So you can see from this point and below, you see from the point of indifference and below, option 1 is higher. No. Option 1 is higher. The earning per share for option 1 is higher than the one for option 2. But you can see above the point of indifference, option 2 is higher than option 1. So we explain it on the basis of that. So we can now recommend that at the point of indifference and below, at the point of indifference and below, at the point of indifference and below, i.e., where earnings before interest and tax, where the earnings before interest and tax is 21.57 million, is 21.57 million and below, select option 1, select option 1, select the option 1, select option 1. However, where the earnings before interest and tax, where the earnings before interest and tax is above the point of indifference, is above the point of indifference, is above the point of indifference. i.e. at 21.57 million and above, i.e. at 21.57 million and above, select option 2. Select option 2. Select option 2. So the reason why we are selecting is because they have a high earning per share. The reason why we are opting for that is because they have a higher earning per share. So that was your Roman letter 2. Determine the range of the expected operating profit within which each financing option will be recommended. Each financing option will be recommended. So now we go to the part C of the question. So part C, they have said that with reference to part B above, indicate the financing option you will recommend, assuming that the company's expected operating profit is as expected. Roman letter 1 is as forecasted. Roman letter 2, 6 million per annum. Roman letter 3, 15 million per annum. Roman letter 3 is meant to be 15 million per annum. So let us first check what is there as forecasted. So as forecasted, you can see in that schedule that is given when the question as forecasted is what is given in the schedule. So when you check in that schedule, they have said that the management are optimistic that this investment will enable the company to generate annual operating profit whose forecasted value in different state of nature, and their probability of occurrence are given as follows. You can see the state of nature, good, moderate, and poor. Probability are given. So those operating profit, you see the first one is 20,000. The 3 zeros above will also apply. Now your capital structure for you. Yeah, those 3 zeros will still apply on that part. So that means good, it is 20 million. The other one is 15 million and also what? 10 million. So Roman letter 1 is as forecasted. So as forecasted, Roman letter 1, the earnings. So Roman letter 1, earnings before interest and tax. You simply take 20 million more for the probability. Probability is 0.4. You also add. The other one is 15 millions. Also more for the probability, which is 0.25. 0.25. You also add. The last one is 10 million. Multiplied by 0.35. So add them together. Give you your expected earnings before interest and tax. Add them together and get the expected earnings before interest and tax. So it is coming to which figure? 15.25. So I would like you to go to the 2 equations you created. Remember the one we used to get those points? Yeah. So those 2 equations where there is earnings before interest and tax, put there this figure. So remember how we are getting them? Put there those figures and get the earning per share for option 1 and option 2. So go back to the 2 equations we have just been using, but now where there is earnings before interest and tax, put there 15.25. Get the earning per share for each option. Now, those Those two equations we used. Remember when we are calculating those figures? When you are coming up with this earning per share. So where there is earnings before interest and tax, where it was 21.57, now replace with 15.25. Get the earning per share for option 1 and also for option 2. Get the earning per share for option 1 and also for option 2. So get those two earnings per share. So that was the Roman letter 1. For Roman letter 2, you repeat the same, but the earnings before interest and tax. Roman letter 2, they have given you 6 million. You will also replace them by 6 million. You get the earning per share. Then you will do the same for the Roman letter 3. Roman letter 3, you repeat each one of them, but now earnings before interest and tax. They have given you 15 million. So you are to answer it in that order. You just go to the two equations that we created, but where there is earnings before interest and tax, you replace with those figures. So all of them will be recommending option 1. So you see it as higher earning per share. Yeah, anything to do the point of indifference and below. So you see our point of indifference was 21.57. So anything below we recommended option 1. So even these 3 are below 21. So you pick the one the highest. So that was now the case. So when we meet in the next class, we shall check May 2015, question 4C. So in our next class, we shall be looking at the question for May 2015, question number 4, part C. So you remember to remind me on that so that we finish now that part of the point of indifference. So we can now go for the break. So we can now stop at that point. Yes, but I'll confirm to you in the next class. You still have financial reporting. Yeah, so in the course of that class, I'll be able to give a communication. Because it is normally, and I normally have an alternate with the advanced financial management. I want to confirm with the other class by 11, then I give you a feedback.